Perfect. Okay, right. I'm going to keep an eye on if anyone else joins. I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to play a little video. It's about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes long. Enjoy it, and then we will get cracking.
This guy's been passionate, genuinely passionate about juicing and changing lives and health for so many years, honestly. And he's just, whatever this guy does, if he's producing something and you want to try his stuff, and I'm not getting paid, just do it, because there's very few people in the industry that actually are doing it out of this instead of this. So, and he's one of the rare breed, okay?
I cannot praise Luke's expertise and knowledge that he's passed on to me about juicing. And tomorrow I'm doing, as I said, I'm doing my major big juicing. I've got all the veg in, all the fruit in. But yeah, thank you, Luke.
My name's Pat Lee, and I met Luke about a year or so ago. I suffer from osteoarthritis, and I truly believe that drinking the right juices actually helps, relieves the pain. The truth of the matter is, for me, Luke's juices are just the most wonderful taste. The ginger ones are the ones I love the best, and he does two. He does the orange ginger and the blue shark ginger, and the blue shark is just to die for. Love it to bits. He also does beetroot and wheatgrass. They're all delicious, but you just have to find your own flavours. At one point Luke did a full juicing regime for me, where I was on much larger quantities, and that truly revitalises you if you can manage to go a week or a month and do the juicing. So long may Luke continue producing these juices.
Hi, my name is Bronwyn, and I currently live and work in Brentwood. I came across Luke last year. He had a stall on Brentwood High Street, and I was very curious about the shots, and I bought a week's supply at the time. Started doing them and found that I really enjoyed it. So then I got in touch with him and I bought a month's supply, and I've been doing that ever since. The benefits I have found to be amazing. I just feel so much better within myself. I feel like I've got more energy. I used to suffer a lot with colds, which now I find I hardly get a cold, or if I do, I recover from it a lot quicker. My immunity feels a lot stronger. Yeah, so I've really enjoyed the different varieties of flavours that he does, and I will continue taking my shots every morning. Today I'm trying the pomegranate one, which I've never tried before, so I'm going to give that a go. But yeah, I would highly recommend it.
Hi, my name's John. I run a search and selection finance recruitment business in the city in London. I also run the youth section at Hutton Cricket Club. I came across Luke a couple of years ago because I know his dad Keith. He comes once a week to my house and absolutely beasts me in my gym. And Luke was talking to me all about his splendid juices. I'll give you two of them here, the ginger and the super ginger. And I've already been drinking ginger shots through Pret-a-Manger for a couple of years, especially with the guys at work. But I've got to say, Luke's ginger tastes even better. And why do I do it? Because it stops me getting ill. So I actually bring quite a few of these into work and give it to the guys, and the illness in my office is pretty much zero. Certainly taking a ginger shot every day, or at least 5 times a week, certainly stops you getting ill. It certainly stops me getting ill. It tastes great, it's got loads of nutrition. Luke's a bit of a legend, so why wouldn't you want some? And he does loads of other stuff too, and I've had quite a few of the other things, including the beetroot, and that's wonderful.
This guy, the juice guy, yeah?
Perfect. So, welcome to the Juice Factory, by the way. If you're watching this live or you're watching this on record, I have to thank you for coming along, especially watching live, because I have to commend you. Not many people would spend an hour of their time on a Saturday morning to come and listen to a talk about nutrition. So I have to commend you. And yes, this talk is free per se, but I have to say that you're spending something more valuable than money, and that is your time. So I don't take that lightly, and I'm going to do my utmost best to give you the very best of what I know in the next hour from the last 6 years, 6-year journey of mine that's started back in 2016, 17, actually, really more than 6 years, and is continuing more than ever. So I have to thank you for coming on. I've got Lisa and David listening in, and I'm going to be putting this out as a recording as well. But the whole idea of this talk is, it's a new year. We always like to have a new start, New Year's resolutions, and it's kind of like a new year, new you. And through being at juice retreats to running a juice business myself, I wanted to just give you a flavour if you don't already know stuff about myself as a business. And that's what I'm big about into these talks, is that there's two things at play, really. There are reminders, things that we need to be reminded of, and then there's things that you've not come across before, because I believe there's something to learn from everyone, and you can always be learning. There's something that you don't know when it comes to maybe health, nutrition and wellness. So I'm going to spend the first about 10 minutes just showing you some little slides that I put together, and then I'm going to flip to the main camera where I'm going to be doing a little demonstration, a little bit of just mindset stuff, tips and tricks and facts that you might not have known, and then just to finish, a few takeaways, a little bit about us as a business. And if maybe you want to take us up and maybe getting some juices, because I'm very much into practical stuff, taking action. And by being here, you've done just exactly that, taking action. And like I said, I do not take it lightly that you've spent the time to come here. So let's get cracking. I'm going to share the screen. The screen is already shared. Apologies if a few things go wrong. Obviously, this is live. What I like about things being live, though, is that no one talk is the same. So it's easy for me to just put on a recording and say, oh, this is a talk I did 2 months ago. We did an event called Revive to Thrive, and we had about 25, 30 people come. It was brilliant. It was next door. I did that alongside my dad, who's a fitness expert. But essentially, that was great. And that was quite a good talk. And I did film that, and I could have just put that on today and say, have a listen to that. But I'm very much into, I might say something today I didn't say in my last talk, but it might be the one thing that benefits you this year. So like I said, new year, new you. Now that's actually a picture of me at a juice retreat, and I'm actually wearing the top right now, which I wore, a very similar top. It's just very chill, very relaxing. I spent 7 days on nothing but freshly extracted juices, shots, salads, things like that at the start and the end. And I have to be honest, I've never experienced something so revolutionary to my life. And that's why I just want to impart it. And I'm not saying to you out there, maybe, juice all day, every day. I'm saying that, can you incorporate this? Because the whole principle of why I do what I do and why I preach juicing as part of nutrition. And listen, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. And ironically, I actually listened to a webinar early in the week, and basically this nutritionist was talking about different things when it comes to fruits and vegetables and juices and stuff, and kind of erasing it a little bit. So I kind of want to put a few things to bed if I get a chance to mention it later on. But basically, it's known as the greatest magic trick in the world. The governments say that if you have multiple portions going into a juice, smoothie or blend, if it's in a glass, it only counts as one portion. Just not true. But I want to get into the talk. I want to basically just give you a sense of who I am. So obviously, my name's Luke Morton. I'm a natural juice therapist, which is actually associated with the Complementary Medical Association. And like I said, I'm not a doctor, not a nutritionist. I'm 24 years old, but I do believe that I'm someone that can help. And just whilst we're at it, by the way, you might not be in a position to do this. It's easier when I was in person because I'll be giving you out samples and stuff. The idea of this is I'll give you ideas and you can then go and do it straight after this talk is what I'd recommend. It's actually part of the system that I'm going to talk about. But if you have two things at hand, first of all, maybe a notepad if you're not on the go, a notepad and pen, because I highly recommend you take notes. Because if you don't take notes, in about a month's time, you'll only remember about 10% of what you learned today, which for me, that's not worth putting an hour's time into to only remember about 10%. If you start making notes, you'll remember about 50 to 60%. This has been well documented and studied. If you actually then take action on something straight away and start associating yourself with it psychologically, then you'll actually retain more like 80, 90% of the information. So something I said in one of my last talks is I said to people, who's heard the advice? I had this from a doctor once when I was in hospital. He said, do you know what it is, Luke? You don't drink enough water. So I'm going to say it to you right now. If you've got a glass of water next to you, or if you can maybe get one or get someone to get one for you, or a bottle of water, drink more water. It's a reminder. because it's something that costs nothing. You don't have to go out there and buy that, do this. Drink more water, because it could solve many of your problems. And obviously juices themselves are actually 80% liquid organic content water anyway. But yeah, a little bit about me. So by trade, I'm actually a broadcaster. I've got a degree in sports business and broadcasting. But I say that because at this point in time, I'm actually putting more or less all my effort into the juice business. And that's because I'm so passionate about it. And I've had, as you've seen in that video, so many people benefit from my talks, my products over the years, that I just really want to see how far I can take this and how many people I can impact. And that's kind of a question I pose to you really is, where are you right now? 6 years ago, I was in a position where I didn't eat fruits and vegetables, and I was quite naive, and I went to a talk in the Excel Centre in London. And long story short, I went with my dad. I went to listen to a guy called Tony Robbins. By the way, if you do have any questions, queries, put them in the chat box, and I'm going to look to answer them either as we go along, but probably at the end of the talk. Obviously, if you do need to dash and stuff, I can message you, have a call, any questions. But 6 years ago, I went to a talk at the London Excel Arena, and I went to listen to Tony Robbins, big motivational speaker, larger than life. And then once that was done, I was buzzing, and then I wanted to go home. And my dad basically said to me, oh, there's one last talk that we'd listened to Eddie the Eagle and a few other people. And there was a guy called Jason Val, the juice master, a nutritionist guy. And I was like, I don't want to listen to a nutritionist guy, so can we go? He was like, give it 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, I'll give it 5 minutes. And I'm so glad I did, because those 5 minutes, we ended up staying for the whole talk. This guy was so inspirational, so larger than life. And it wasn't so much about the juice, and it wasn't so much about the mindset, the psychology, and everything that went with it. It was his infectious ability to inspire. And that's why I'm here today. There's really three things at play. There's 3 eyes. I'm here to give you some ideas, new ideas, like I said, or remind you of some ideas that you need to be implementing in your life when it comes to health and nutrition. I also want to give you some insights. You might be like, oh, I know about that, but I didn't know about that. The difference between a juice, a smoothie, and a blend. And you'll be like, oh, I didn't really know that. But then the main thing I want to do is do what was done to me, which was inspire you. If you leave today just that little bit more inspired, enough to give you inspiration for the next week, month, year, then I've done my job. And Jason Val, I owe a lot to him. I owe a lot to many people. My dad's a big inspiration to me, but Jason Val, the juice master, been in this industry for years and years. I've met him a few times, helped me massively. And, he said to me, the best thing you can do, Luke, to, if you wanted to repay me, is pay it forward. Spread the word. His mission is to juice the world. And I've kind of taken a liking to that idea as well. There was one picture that really stood out to me when I did this talk and went to this talk and listened, and he flashed his picture up, and I saw this guy with Diet Coke, and I thought, well, I drink that every day, like multiple cans every single day. I was like, that can't be good, but I didn't really care. Wasn't getting any fruits and vegetables, hated maybe a bit of fruit, but I didn't eat any vegetables whatsoever, hated the taste. I was always being berated for it on meals out or occasions. Family came over, Christmas time, have your Brussels sprouts, have your carrots, have your parsnips. Didn't like it. I wouldn't exactly say I was in the best position either. I'm a footballer as well, wasn't necessarily performing, ended up in hospital. I did some work experience in London, but this picture really turned it around for me, because I thought, how can someone be, without exaggeration, morbidly obese and drink something like Diet Coke? It's got no sugar. But then it clicked in my mind. I was like, because of everything else that's in it, the additives, the aspartame, things like that. And it doesn't give you what you need. So you're going to crave unhealthy foods, and you're going to eat more chocolate, cake, sweets, all this sort of stuff that I had when I was younger. And look, I'm not into don't have the things you like. That's part of my system I'm going to get into a bit. But I'm very much into, can you, going forward, at least have like a shot a day, like a ginger shot a day, a juice a day. So many people say, well, I've heard that it's, 50% diet, 50% exercise, or it's 30% exercise as it says on the screen, or 70% diet. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can't have one without the other. There is no more important one. What good is it if you have the best diet in the world, but you barely ever train? You barely ever exercise cardiovascularly or resistance training in the gym, or your sleep is terrible. So I believe it's everything. It's exercise, diet, mind, body, and spirit put together. And when we did this event back in November, it feels like a long time ago now, but it does feel like yesterday other ways as well, now that I'm talking about all this sort of stuff again. I do daily lives as well. If you want to check out my Instagram, Juice Guy UK, and this is kind of like a longer version of it really, but I built a pyramid and I basically said, look, most people in life simply just survive and they just go about their everyday life, whether that's financially, they're just about pay their bills, whether that's going through life and they just want to basically just get through the day. I'm a big believer in don't just get through the day in life, get from the day. Every single day is an opportunity to get better, do more things, experience more things whilst we're here. So the biggest thing I'm into is you can't do a lot else if you don't have a basic level of immunity. That's why I say to people, if you do nothing else, have a little ginger shot every day. You might have had some from a Pret, M&S, places like this. And I'll talk about why you don't really want to be getting from places like that and you want to come to a place like us or make it fresh yourself. Because I believe that if you were really riddled with illness right now, you wouldn't be able to attend this talk. You're so ill that you're in bed and you can't think straight and you've got a banging headache because your immunity's not high. So I believe the most important thing you can do is have high levels of immunity. And that's why you want to be getting in. It's no longer 5 a day. It's 10 a day, if not more. Countries like Japan recommend 17 a day and they live to 100 plus. So there's a lot to say, and it's part of the system I'm going to talk about in a minute, a part of the 5 keys that I believe are the things that are going to transform your health, your body. Because I say to people, when I said Revive to Thrive, I said, look, put your hand up if you're here because you want more energy. And I said, put your hand up, and everyone put their hand up. I said, put your hand up here if you'd like an even better body, and everyone put their hand up. And then I said, well, after immunity comes something else. So many people complain about being fatigued. And I said, what you need is more energy. And that's where if you have some of these superfoods like wheatgrass, even kale, spirulina. But that's the thing, superfoods. We've all heard the term superfoods. The only reason that term came about is what we're really saying is that we've created so many bad foods in our society, like cooked foods, processed foods, that now we require these superfoods to counteract that. But there's no denying things like wheatgrass, spirulina have nutrient-dense properties. And that's why I say to people, look, have your little ginger shot or wheatgrass shot, but then have a little juice every day. Because when you're deficient and not getting all your vitamins, minerals, enzymes, phytonutrients, all these sort of things going in every day, I'm not an expert in macronutrients. I will say to you, get your protein, get your fats, carbohydrates, but leave that to the nutritionist people. My expertise is micronutrition. And I'm here to say that every single person can be, look, you might say to me, why don't I just eat the stuff, Luke? Well, I say, well, you could, but are you really going to eat 10 to 15 portions of fruit and mainly veg every day without fail? You might be a busy professional. You might be a mum and you might be struggling to get all this stuff in every day. That's the idea of having a little juicer at home or some juices maybe from us or wherever you get it. You have to be getting it every day. Another big thing people often want, and it might not be weight loss, it might be weight gain. Either one. If you're deficient and you want to gain some weight, you need to replace those deficiencies. Because one big thing that Jason Val said to me in his talk was he said, you need to remove the toxicity because we bring in so many bad things. You've got things like bad food. Some people smoke, the pollution in the air. You need to remove all of that where possible or reduce it. And you need to replace it with the good stuff, replace the deficiencies. And most people just simply aren't getting what they need on a daily basis. And I believe if you do all that, you can then really get to the point where you start to thrive and not just survive. You can perform better in life if you're an athlete or if you just want to do better in the gym. You don't want to age prematurely. So all these things, there's a lot to be said for it. Because this is a big quote that I always say to people, look, if you feel better, you'll do better. It's actually a known thing now that 85% of disease is actually lifestyle, caused by lifestyle. So that shows you that we are not fully in control, but we are very much in control of what we can do, and what we put into our body on a daily basis has a massive impact on life now, in the medium term and the long term. Now, I spent my early days doing consultation, going around to people's houses, showing them how to juice. But so many people said to me, look, I would do it, Luke, and I've gone and bought a juicer a month later. It's not that I'm lazy, maybe a little bit. I'm just so busy, I haven't got the time to make the juices. And that's why I'll be talking about a little bit at the end if you have some time. I wanted to spend the first 20 minutes or so just talking to you, giving you some context, mindset stuff, some ideas. Then the middle part, 20 minutes, a little demonstration, making a ginger shot in a fast juicer, and then a little juice in a cold press juicer, and a little blend, and then just to wrap up and finish, take any questions you might have. But most people said to me, look, if you just made me the juices, I would do it. So in lockdown, I decided to do just that. And I started to do little videos and educate people, and it was amazing. And obviously lockdown's a great time. That's why I'm standing here right now. I'm not doing something else, I suppose, because I had that chance to start making these juices. And I know some of you might have received a sample pack recently. If you do want a sample pack, let us know, because we can get that to you. Whether you're Essex-based or nationwide, we now ship out via courier. But if you've got that piece of paper right now, I want you to grab it. It is best done when you write things out, like I said, because you'll remember it that much better. But over the years, I've developed 5 keys, essentially, to what I deem as, I call it the juicy lifestyle formula. Because wouldn't you agree, and if you were here right now, I'd be asking, put your hands up, say yes or no. But wouldn't you agree that if you want something, if you want a change, I do believe there is no change without a change in routine, something that you do consistently. Would you agree that if you want a change, weight loss, more energy, that the thing you do has to be consistent? It's no good having a ginger shot every, once in a while. It has to be every day. First thing in the morning, empty stomach, have your juice instead of something else unhealthy. You do something enough consistently, you get that result. It's a bit like that saying, a dog isn't just for Christmas, it's for life. And that's what I have adopted with this. I didn't just make a juice one time and then said, oh, I'm good for life now. I'm good for the week, I'm good for the month. It's every day. So if you've got a piece of paper, if you're not able to do that, just imagine 5 Fs on a piece of paper. And these are the 5 keys that I preach to people. Now, you're probably thinking, what are these 5 Fs? Now, the first F, most important F. I say to people, what's the first thing they do when they're building some of the largest skyscrapers in the world? I'm actually off to Dubai very soon. They've got the Burj Khalifa, you've got the Shard, you've got the Empire State Building. What's the very first thing they do? They build the foundations. So that is the first F. Because I believe that every single person who's come onto this day, or if you're tuning in onto the replay, or you're coming across us as a business for the first time, the only reason you clicked on and stayed on is because you have a why. There's a reason you're here. And so many people will give me a reason like, oh, I'm here because I want to learn about how to lose weight. And I'll say, okay, that's good. That's a good reason. But why do you want that? And then they'll say, well, because I want to look better. I'll be like, okay, that's cool. I'll say, well, why do you want to look better? And then they'll say, well, because I've actually got a wedding coming up in 3 months' time, or it's my 50th down the line, or something like that. And I'll say, okay, that's cool. I'll keep going deeper and deeper. And it's actually an activity called the 7 levels deep. And I encourage you to do it. You keep going deeper and deeper, you get to your real why. And they say, if you've got a big enough why, it's the thing that will get you out of bed in the morning. It's the reason why you tune in today. Your initial reason might be like, oh, I've come across you, Luke, and I like your way, and I like this idea of juicing. But I can assure you there is a deeper reason. But if your why is strong enough, just like those foundations that they put into the building, if it's strong enough, it can withstand so many things. The strong winds, the flooding, all that sort of stuff, extreme temperatures. It's the same with you. Whatever your reason is, you want to lose weight, you want to have more energy, and there's a deeper reason for it. If your why is strong enough, I can assure you it is if you're on here today, then you won't listen to criticism from people who say that juicing stuff doesn't work. You won't listen to all the naysayers, or even people who, we look up to, your doctors of the world, your nutritionists. I'm not trying to give them a bad name. I'm just saying that, even me, I've gone to doctors in the past and I've heard different opinions for the same thing. 3 doctors, there's something that I had in my life, and then 2 of them said one thing, another one said another. So even when it comes to the level of a doctor, it's still a game of opinion. There are things that are matter of fact, but there also are different ways to do things. And I'm not saying to you this is the only way, juicing's the way. Ironically, I've actually got a newsletter which I'm going to flash up. If you do want a copy of any of our newsletters from the last 5 months, let us know. We can send you an e-version. I had Amy Childs on the Friday. The only way is juicing. But the truth is, there is only one way, and that's your way. But I'm hoping that through this talk today, that you might just take a thing or two that you implement into your life. Next F, because I want to get into the demo as soon as possible. And if you have any questions about this system, let me know. The facts. I'm just going to chuck a few facts at you that you might or not already know. Like I said, it's not 5 a day. If you actually look on the government website, they actually recommend 5 to 10. They tell you 5 because they know that's more achievable. But if you really want optimum health, look, I'm not into being average. I'm sure if you're listening here, you're not into being average. You don't want to be an average parent. You don't want to be an average professional in what you do. I don't want to do this talk and be average. I want to be better than average. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not into perfection, but I am into every time I do something, do it better. Can that juice be improved? Can this talk be improved? So it's not 5 a day, it's 10 a day. And really, the truth of the matter is it needs to be 80% vegetable, 20% fruit. And people will say to me, and these are the biggies. People will say to me, oh, I shouldn't do that juicing because it's too high in sugar. And I'll say, okay, well, here's a fact for you. If I gave you, say you wanted a donut, and I said, right, I've got a donut here, and then I've also got a nice, I've got one here actually, a nice fresh apple. I said, before you have that donut, I will give you the apple. Eat this apple. You take the apple, and then you eat it. I can assure you, you will still want that donut. Why is that? Surely you wouldn't, because you've just had something sugary. Because you know it's not the same type of sugar. Natural fructose, fruit sugar, versus white refined table sugar. So you'd still want that donut. So people say to me, oh, it's too high in sugar. Well, yes, maybe the stuff you get in Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Waitrose, juices that are pasteurized, added sugar, added preservatives, but not the fresh stuff. Yes, it has got some sugar in it, but it's only naturally occurring sugar. And when you've got, which leads to my next point, fiber, people say, well, what about the fiber? Like, aren't you removing all the fiber? And I say, well, no, there's 2 types of fiber. You've got insoluble fiber, like the roughage, the stuff that is removed in the juicer. And without getting too graphic, that is the stuff that would have been removed from your body anyway. Because fiber cannot be absorbed by the body. It only passes through. It acts as like an internal broom to flush things through, toxins, things like that. But there are 2 types of fiber. And you've got soluble fiber, known as pectin, in the apple. And these are all things worth making notes on, so you could maybe read up on it. Obviously, I'm only stating facts here, so you'll find it all to be true. I'm not into, I would say Google it and you'll see, but I'm not into Google because you get misinformation on there. Because Google would say to you have 5 portions a day, and it's just not true. And the nutritionist would say you want to be getting this and only have 150 milliliters of fruit juice a day, like I listened to a webinar early in the week. But actually, they're missing the point. A well thought through juice that's cold pressed, that's not pasteurized, like we make, is nothing like the stuff. And that's why juicing gets a bad name. Carton apple juice is not real fresh apple juice. And yeah, you can go to Joe the Juice, you can go to Boost Juice, places like this. And I'm going to distinguish between the 2 types of juicers. You'll hear these noisy juicers, they actually use a fast juicer and not a cold press juicer. Now, another fact as well, a red bell pepper actually contains 5 times more vitamin C than an orange alone. So people often say, I'll have your oranges, but you could be having a bit more veg in a red bell pepper, which we put in some of our juices actually. So there's so many things to know. People say, well, I made a juice in my blender. I'm like, no, you made a blend in your blender or a smoothie in your blender. You made a juice in your juicer. And people say, oh, I've got a blender, so isn't that a juice? If you take maybe a couple of apples, a couple of carrots, and then a bit of powder, a bit of water, and you blend it all together, that is what's known as a blend. If you get a juicing machine, which I'm going to show you, and you put a couple of apples in, a couple of carrots, a bit of ginger, a bit of lemon, and you get the juice part, that is what is known as a juice. If you then take that juice and then put it into a blender, like a NutriBullet, an upright blender, and mix it with some avocado, banana, some frozen berries, mango, that is what is known as a smoothie. So I just wanted to clear that up. And there's loads of other facts. I'm going to look to share you some information, written stuff after this event as well. More facts that I've not remembered right now, but I've definitely documented them. Wanted to move on to the next step, and that's flexibility. This is how I always put this part. think about it. If you were going to a kid's birthday party or you were going somewhere, you know, a special occasion, and someone offered you a nice alcoholic drink because it was a special occasion. A good example for me was actually graduation, where you had the orange juices going around and then a bit of champagne. At the time, I didn't touch alcohol because I was very much of the mindset, and this comes back to foundation. I was too extreme. My mindset was my body is my temple. The other extreme of that, some people have a mindset of you only live once. But I think there's somewhere in between that. So I started to realize it's no good going to these occasions and you can't let your hair down a little bit. Because I'm not into, I used to say to people, don't drink alcohol, don't have that cake, don't have that chocolate. And I realized it's not sustainable. As long as you're covering yourself with what I call the best health insurance in the world by having your fresh juice that you've made or you've got from us, then you're covered and you can have a day or two out of the week. What's it say in the Bible? It says 6 days work, 1 day rest. I'm saying to you, you know, if you're on it 6 days of the week and 1 day of the week, you kind of go crazy a little bit, have a cheat meal, what's wrong with that? So the example I was going to give is, say you go to a birthday party in particular, and there's a little kid who's just baked some cakes or cupcakes or muffins or whatever, and they come to you and say, can you try some of my cake? I made it fresh just for you, or something like that. You don't want to be the person who turns around and says, I don't have cakes, I want a juice diet. That used to be me, and I'm sure there's been times where that's been you as well. So this idea of flexibility, there's a quote that I came across once. It said something like, you know, don't forget the goal. Like, stay focused on the goal, but stay flexible in your approach to achieving that goal. So like I said, your foundation, your goal for 2024 might be, I want to lose this much weight by this time. Be specific, have a timeline. But the truth of the matter is, there's going to be things that come up. Holidays, events, functions, things that you didn't see coming. But it's a bit like they say, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to achieve that goal, as long as you keep moving in the right direction, doing new things, doing different things, you're going to get there eventually. It might take you a little bit longer than you first thought, but you will get there. Next F, if you want to write this down, freedom. What do I mean by freedom? Do diets work? This is a question I posed to people a couple of months ago, and I said, look, do diets really work? I was listening to a talk and they said, you know, the trouble is with diets is people yo-yo. You have these fad diets. You have like the green tea detox diet. You have things like the paleo, the keto, the Mediterranean diet, all these different diets. And I started to think, well, does it really work? And I thought, well, what's more important than a diet? Because people have a diet mentality. I'll do it for this long. I'll do a day on juice, 3 days on juice, 5 days on juice. This is why I recommend a juice a day instead as your breakfast, for example, instead of doing a week on juice and then never doing it again and gaining all that weight back, as they say. And I realize it's more so a mentality. You know, I'm a big believer. There's a quote that says, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're someone who your mindset is, I'll do it for 3 days. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to starve myself. I'm going to not listen to stuff. And I'm a big believer in don't listen to, you know, society too much, the news, you know, CNN in America doesn't stand for this, but I believe it does. Constant negative news. If you listen to all the stuff outside, lockdown's a good example of that, then you're not going to be well educated. You're not going to do the right things. You'll do what society tells you to do, which is often not the best way to go about things. And most society will tell you you need to go on a diet. But I believe diets don't work. What I believe is a sustainable approach, a lifestyle, like I said. Most people have what I call a diet mentality. And this isn't my idea, this is something I've adopted from what I've learned. What you really want is a freedom mentality. Because most people say during a juice cleanse or whatever, or they're having a diet, they say, oh, I do want that donut or cake, but I can't have it because I'm on a diet. This isn't overnight. But if you can shift to a place where you say, well, actually, you know what? I can have that donut. I can have that thing I like, or that pizza or food, whatever, that Chinese takeaway, but I'm choosing not to have it. You'd say, well, that's a strong willpower. I don't know if it is. I think it's a change and a shift in mindset. When you're getting what you actually need and your body really needs every single day, you'll be amazed how much you start to not want those things that you always crave. Most reason people get cravings is because they're not getting the things they need on a cellular level. They're deficient. You do that, and I say to people, look, if you want to have some of our shots, do it for a month. but I'm a big believer in, it's not an apple, I'm a big believer, getting passionate, you see. I'm a big believer in, a bit like medication. A doctor will say to you, take this medication, but you need to give it a month, 3 months for it to take effect. But that's not to say that you won't start feeling the benefits straight away. The moment you have a freshly made juice that's well thought through, it's absorbed within 15 minutes into the bloodstream. And then that's when you're going to get that bang of energy. So after a couple of days of just having a juice every day, you'll notice it. I've had people coming to me saying, look, I've run out of juice, I need some more now. It's almost like a drug, they're dependent on it. But I think there's worse things to be dependent on. So it's worth considering. Can you look at things and say, okay, I'm not going to cut things out. I'm not saying to you straight off this talk, say, I once did 100 days of no pizza because that was my big thing. And it did work. But then I remember there was a week where I ended up having like more pizzas in 1 week than I'd ever have in my life, kind of thing. So it kind of does deprive you. I'm not into deprivation. What I am is creating something that's sustainable. Now you're probably thinking, what is the final F? Well, the fact you're here listening means you've already kind of done this, but I'm really into, can you do this final thing today after everything you've learned straight away? The most successful people in the world take what they've learned and implement things straight away. So the final F is follow through. If you're someone who can take action on what you learned today, I often say, look, take one small thing and take one big thing and put it into practice. You know, for example, you might say, you know what? I want to get some ginger into my system. I'm going to go out tomorrow. I'm going to buy some ginger and a bit of lemon. I'm going to put it into some boiling water, a bit of honey, and make some ginger tea. You know what? I'm going to get a batch of apples. I'm going to have an apple a day, which is in all of our juices, because you would have heard of the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And it's so true. When you have an apple, and don't get me wrong, to be fair, apples these days, they say something like you need about the equivalent of 10 apples to get the same nutritional value from one apple from about 20 years ago, because everything, chemicals, the way things are made now, it's just been depleted. And that's where juicing comes into play. You just couldn't get through 10 apples by eating it. But if you have an apple every single day, you're reducing the chance of a stroke by 52%. If you couple that with, here's another idea for you, every single week we need 30 different varieties of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, things like that going into our system. And when I did that back in September, October, I cannot tell you how much that impacted my business, my sport, my personal life. And I've not looked back. And I do this talk to remind myself of the fact I need to remember why I'm doing this. I need to remember I not need to listen to the people and remember the real truth and the facts. I'm going to be flexible along the way. I can have that thing, but I'm choosing not to today. I'm going to have a nice juice. And I'm going to keep taking action when it comes to my exercise, nutrition, my mindset, meditation, good sleep, things like this. And you might recognize this character. There's really two things that stands out to me. I know it is a fictitious character, but what he says is very true. Now, first thing Yoda says from the Star Wars films, he says, you must unlearn what you have learned. There's so many things you'll come into this talk that you have ideas about already. I'm hoping that by telling you some of the truth, things that people don't want to hear, but the truth is it's the truth. If you unlearn some of that stuff and you learn what's actually the truth, you might just change your life. But the other thing he also says, do or do not. There is no try. People say, okay, I'm going to try that juice. I'm going to be like, no, you're either doing it or you're not doing it. There's no try. There's no in between. You're either doing this or you're not doing it. If you're in, if you want to get some juices from us, you're doing it. If not, do something else. So that's why I developed a range of products, which I'm going to not go into detail too much because this is not what the talk's about. But ginger shots, beetroot shots, wheatgrass, get a way of getting stuff into your system every single day. That's just a little visual of some of the stuff we talked about just there. The strong roots, the strong foundations, the red bell pepper having 5 times more vitamin C. Don't be that person who says to the kid, I'm not having that cake because I'm on a diet. Don't have a diet mentality because it doesn't work, and follow through by having a juice a day. Little bit of benefits about ginger shots we're going to make in a second. Why is ginger good for you? Why is it fashionable? It's good for immunity, good for things like hay fever, indigestion, as you see on the screen, prevents illness. I'm a big believer in prevention is best than cure. But even if you have got something like a cancer, I do believe that I can be of help with the ideas and the opportunities we have to offer you. The reason we freeze our juices as well is because it's cold pressed. The one thing that a Holland and Barrett, a Pret, a Sainsbury's, a Tesco's, a Waitrose with all their juices, yes, they might not be pasteurized anymore. They actually use a process called HPP. Here's another little fact for you. High pressure processing, which means it's put under an enormous amount of pressure, but you lose the one most important thing that you need every single day. And that is, I just realized this is a slide from a while ago and it says preservatives spelt wrong. That's made me laugh. The one thing the juices from the shops don't contain that's going to give you the energy, going to help you burn off that fat, is the enzymes. It's the lifeblood of our system. We need enzymes going in every single day. If you eat dead food, you're going to feel dead. If you eat alive food, you're going to feel alive. So I actually started the business making these little energy balls, and I can give you the recipe if you want it. I can send you it afterwards on WhatsApp. I can email it to you, whatever. I've got a little live video I did. But the reason I moved towards the juices is because that's my expertise. But I'm here to say, look, there's things out there that you can make healthy. Instead of reaching for that bar of chocolate, you can make a little energy ball with a bit of raisins, cashew nuts, getting in your omega-3s, all your essential fats, a bit of coconut oil, a bit of orange, and a bit of raw cacao. Not cocoa, not the stuff that's added sugar, but the good stuff as nature intended. So, like I said, I'm probably going to do this bit now, actually, and then we'll get into the demo. I actually did a talk, like I said, in November. I offered an event box to people. If you have any questions about our juices, whether that's the little super shots, the daily doses, let us know. But I'm quite keen to answer your questions at the end. If you have any, if you want to come on camera or just talk, or you want to put it in the chat, I will answer them. I'm going to now look to switch. If you just give me about 30 seconds to a minute, I'm going to switch to the main camera, give you a little demonstration, and then answer any questions you want. But like I said, if you do want a copy of our January newsletter, join Amy Charles and Co. In the Detox for the New Year, New Year, New You. Little testimonial from one of our customers in Bronwyn, who's from Brentwood. And if you open up the newsletter, there's lots of tips and tricks. Likewise, from some of our previous newsletters, practical things you can do with our super shots, things like ginger shot, add it into some boiling water, a bit of honey, a bit of cinnamon, a beetroot shot, make it into like a healthy natural Lucozade, or add a wheatgrass shot into one of your smoothies. Because I'm a big believer in most people have a blender. They don't have a juicer, but they have a blender. And that's why you can mix some of our juices with some avocado, with some banana. So I'm going to look to come off the screen now, and then you'll see me. Let's go back to the Zoom. So this is actually the first event we've done in the year. I've done a few. Right. So yeah, I was saying basically we do in-person events as well, and you're probably thinking, well, I've come to this, I don't need to come to that. I'm very much into repetition. You don't learn something one time and then you know it forever. You need to be constantly reminded. And often when you listen to something again, you take different things because you're in a different mood, you're in a different state, as they say. So come to one of our events in person. We're probably going to be doing it in March. I'd highly recommend you come, and in that way you can actually try some of our juices if you've not already tried. If you're not in the UK and you're joining from around the world, or you're watching this from around the world, that's why I want to do a little demonstration to say to you, look, you can get one of these juicers. I'm actually going to become an affiliate for Nama Juicers, which is basically one of the juices. I'm going to say, if you do want to do this by yourself and you've got to be quite disciplined to do it, then you can do that. So yeah, I'm going to quickly, I don't know if you caught the bit about the newsletter. If you want some, if you want some, I'll give it you. I think that was a little football thing once. It was a little guy at a Wealdstone football match, and there was this guy, and he was like, comes up to me and was like, you want some? I'll give it you. So yeah, if you want some, I'll give you a little newsletter with tips and tricks. It's quite heavy, but I'm very much into giving you so much value, some little stuff you can do with our juices. I'm going to flip camera, so I'm going to stop sharing on here. Right, let me just go and put the main camera on, and I'll be back in about 1 minute. Just going to be about another minute or so. This is a good chance for you, if you do need a quick trip to the toilet, grab that water to, like I said, remind yourself of drink more water. It will change your life. You drink more water every day, you'll be amazed at what it'll do for your skin, your concentration, all that sort of stuff. Should be able to hear me. It was on mute on that one because I went off of that one. Let me say it once more. Fast juicer. This is what they use in Joe and the Juice, things like that. You're only going to get about 40 to 50% of the nutrition. Now, why is that? It's because all the fibers are ripped apart so quickly, it creates a bit of heat friction that starts to destroy the good stuff, the enzymes, things like that. If you're just getting into juicing, you'll say, well, what's the best juicer to get? The one that's best for you. If you've not got much of a budget and you want to get into this stuff, get a fast juicer. It's not a fast press juicer, it's just a fast juicer, also known as a centrifugal juicer if you come across technical stuff online. Most people, like I said, have a little blender just like this. Now, what's good about this is it's a good way to get in a lot more fruit and veg, but it is limited. You can only fit so much in this before it becomes quite thick and horrible, and people often don't make the best recipes, and then that's why they say, oh, I tried all that blending, but it's no good because it didn't taste good and it was just horrible. My motto for my business and my outlook to health and nutrition is there's two things that are so important. You shouldn't have one without the other: nutrition and taste. People think, oh, if something tastes horrible, it must be good for you. And if it tastes good, it must be bad for you. It's just so not true. That's why we design all our juices with nutrition and taste in mind. In every shot, for instance, not this one, this is a supermarket bought one. In every one of our shots, you're getting your daily amount of ginger. We've researched it, but you're also getting that lemon, that apple that's going to make it taste nice as well. And you're getting your apple a day and your daily dose of lemon in a little shot or in a little juice, just like this. So, fast juicer, you probably didn't hear this before because it was on mute. It's quite loud, like that. This is what they use up in London in juice bars, things like that. I've been to places like Harrods and they use a machine just like this because it's quick, but quick doesn't mean better. So let's make a little ginger shot. And I just realized I did bring a little glass with me from home, so I don't have many of them floating around here because obviously I put them straight into bottles. I might have actually a little bottle up here. This is the beauty of doing it here, to be fair. The one downside is I can't then give you a little sample to try, but the beauty of it is that I can just turn, and I've got my stuff here, I've got a little sink behind me. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a little chunk of ginger into the juicer. When we put something into a fast juicer, what we want to do is pack everything in tight. So we're going to get a little apple. We're going to chop it in half. When I first came across Jason Bell, he did all this juggling with apples and stuff. And I was like, if I ever learned to do that, that'd be quite impressive. But not yet, but maybe it'll be my party trick soon. We're going to do an apple sandwich, essentially. We're going to put a little bit of apple into the juicer. With a fast juicer, because it is so fast, you want to really pack it in tight. Unlike a cold press juicer, where you can just add it in, it's a free-for-all, just put it all in, let it do its work. You need to pack things in tight. Now, when it comes to fruits and vegetables, you want to be getting all your different colours of the rainbow in every single day. You need to be getting your greens, your yellows, your reds, your oranges. I did a post about turmeric yesterday, getting your orange stuff. Good for eyesight, good for immunity, getting your vitamin A. You want to be getting things like the stuff you don't get every day, like watermelon, beetroot, really loaded in nitrates. It's great for the blood. If you've got high blood pressure, you've got low blood pressure, it's going to balance it out. Things like celery, going to hydrate you. Things like banana, rich in potassium. Obviously, orange, rich in vitamin C. You couple that with a bit of red bell pepper, orange bell pepper, best of both worlds, you're going to load up your vitamin C levels. But when it comes to things like ginger, lemon, people say, oh, don't I need to peel all this stuff? If you are blending it, you probably do need to. But the beauty of juicing is you don't need to. But there's good reason for that. The juicer will take away what you don't need, but it will give you the stuff, because 90% of the nutrition, you might want to write this down, 90% of the nutrition is found within the skin or just beneath it. So when that goes into the juicer, you're now getting, especially if it's made in a cold press juicer, which I'm going to show you in a bit, 90% to 95%. When we freeze it, you maybe lose about 5% because of sunlight, the air gets to it. That's why we freeze it, put the cap on straight away, put it in the freezer, and then that locks in the nutrition. If you cut an apple like this, and then you leave it out, it's going to go brown. The reason for that is it oxidizes. All the air, the bacteria in the air gets to it, starts feeding off of it, and it depletes it of nutrition. So we're going to put this apple, now we've cut it in half, a little bit of ginger, a little inch of ginger, just a little bit goes a long way, less is more. And then we're going to basically get a little bit of a lemon, about a third of a lemon. This is a nice juicy lemon. Move that out of the way. What I'm doing right now is I'm keeping on the skin. Now, when I make our juices for our business, I tend to just cut off the outside layer. Now, it can be unwaxed, it can be waxed. It doesn't really matter. Obviously, if you want, the best possible health, go for organic, go for unwaxed. But it's not the end of the world if you can't get hold of non-organic and wax stuff. You just want to be getting this stuff in going every day into your system. Apple, lemon, bit of ginger, apple sandwich. And then what I might do, because I like it hot, and I've got Lucy behind the camera who I'm going to give a little bit to as well. Packed it in all tight. Now I'm hoping, I once did a live video in lockdown. I'm hoping that this table stands up. It's quite solid. So it's going to make you laugh or smile. I did a live video making some juices and then the whole table collapsed. I'll share that to you because this is live. I'm not making any guarantees right now that might not happen again. So let's give it a go. And then I want to whisk this juicer away because this is the only juicer I use for demonstration purposes. It's not one that I use on an everyday basis. Let's give it a go. Let's turn it up maybe just to level 1. Nice and quick, nice and simple. You can smell, all done. You can smell that aroma of the ginger, of the lemon. And I think this is going to be quite hot. I don't know if I should have added in that extra bit of ginger, but hey ho. Let's give this a go. Now, when I'm making a fast juicer, a fast juice like this, I could use something like a sieve, and I definitely do that for cold press juices. I like a bit more of a pure juice. It's a bit like having orange juice with bits or orange juice without bits. When you blend something, just a little fact for you, you don't need to then be sieving it and stuff. You just put it straight into the blender. That is what makes a smoothie. So if I then mix this now into the blender with a bit of, frozen berries I got from the supermarket or a bit of banana, that is what's known as a smoothie. Not a blend. A blend is just when you blend purely in the blender. So I've got one shot bottle. I've got another shot bottle here. I might end up killing us both now, but shouldn't because I've made 1 or 2 of these in my time, so this should be perfect. If you were here right now, I'd be offering you one. But that's what I'm going to say to you. Look, if you're not in the country, you're not nearby, you're not able to get juices from us because we are obviously UK based, try this yourself. Even if you have to go to a shop, try one. You've never tried ginger before, that's the very least you can do. But if you are in the UK, you want to try something just like this that's cold pressed, let us know, send us a message. We'll send you a little free sample pack. We want to take that, Lucy. Give it a quick try. Cheers. Let's see what this tastes like. Good colour, nice yellow, bright yellow. Okay, it's very hot, very, very hot. But if you like it hot, this is one for you. We actually do a double strength ginger shot. I'm just trying to focus now because that was quite hot. But if I was making it properly, I do have my scales and stuff because I've made it with the right proportions. You need about at least 5 grams, which doesn't sound a lot, of ginger every single day. And in our shots, you're getting well over 7.5 grams. In the double strength ginger shot we do with the spirulina, you're getting well over 15 grams just in a little shot bottle. So that is very hot. I'm going to save that for later. Now, what I haven't got today, which I do in my talks normally, is you make a juice in this. And often you see these juices and they start to separate a little bit. I'll probably send this to you as a picture after the event, just so you get the visual. If I poured into a glass right now, some carton apple juice, you'd see that dark yellow, almost like, not Capella, but like that dark apple juice that's got nothing going in it in terms of aliveness, been pasteurized. If I then held up a glass, or like I've got in here, a little bit of fresh apple, lemon, ginger juice, it'd be more like cloudy apple. You'd see the big difference. The reason for that is one's got all the aliveness in it, it's just been made fresh. Another one's been cooked, denatured, pasteurized, and it leaves you with about 5 to 10% of the nutritional value. And that is not going to help you when it comes to your health, nutrition, losing the weight, having more energy, things like that. Fast juicer, let's get rid of it. There we go. Just want to keep a little track of time. I've not got my watch on today, so I'm just going to look around there. 10:35. That's a song, actually. Yeah, it is, isn't it? 10:35. 25 minutes or so. I'm just going to try and finish before 11. Let's bring out the big guns. So what's good about this juicer? This is one of the ones I use a little bit for making shots and stuff in our factory. Didn't actually, you're quite lucky that you're seeing this for the first time. I have used it in some of my live demonstrations. I'm also going to plug in the little blender. So what's good about this juicer? Well, it uses a technology called walk-away technology. So you used to have juicers that were so small, you had to chop up a lot of things like watermelon, apple, whatever, Two things you don't want to put in your juicer, by the way: banana and avocado. Even things like berries, because there's something I came across once in the book. It said the harder the fruit or vegetable, the more juice you're going to get from it. So things like apples, lemons, you're going to get a lot of juice. Cucumber, celery, the staple stuff, which you want to get every day. But things like kale, things like spinach, the soft stuff, berries, sometimes are better to go in your blender. They're so soft that the juice is going to really struggle to get all the juice out of it. So things like spinach, I'll put in the juice. I'd also put in a blender. Things like obviously frozen berries, you want to be putting in your blender. But even fresh berries, I tend to just then mix them with the juice into a blender. But we'll do that in a sec. I've not really eaten much food today at all, so I tend to have a juice for my breakfast, had that little ginger shot. So this is going to form some of my breakfast and Lucy's breakfast as well. The best thing you can do when it comes to health and nutrition is load up your body with 10 plus portions in the morning. So open up the little hopper here. Now I'm going to turn this on. It only turns on if I put this down. You're going to hear it's a lot slower. You should just about be able to hear that. And it's got a reverse button as well, so if things get clogged up and stuff. Like I said, the reason I'm showing you this is just so if you ever did want to get a juicer, you could get one just like this. I actually am going to be an affiliate of Nama Juicer. This is actually a Huron juicer. I can send you links and stuff if you want it after the talk. I just really want to show you the demo right now. But what's good about this is basically I can take things like whatever. I need to get more apples. There we go. Little packet of apples there. Little tip when it comes to, it's not the end of the world right now if I don't do it. I could give it a little rinse if I wanted to. People, you're going to say, well, don't you need to wash your fruits and vegetables? In an ideal world, more time, yes, I would. So what I would do is put them in a sink, a little bit of white wine vinegar. If you had a bowl or a small sink, what you want is about 5 parts water, 1 part white wine vinegar. So just a dash of white wine vinegar. That's going to lift off some of the natural waxing, some of the, if it is non-organic, some of the artificial waxing, some of the dirt, some of the chemicals. But I'm a big believer in, we're trying to build things like our immunity here with the vitamins, minerals, and enzymes. People often end up peeling carrots, peeling parsnips, taking away a lot of the goodness, because like I said, a lot of the nutrition is just beneath the skin or within it, and they remove that. So yeah, give it a little brush, but it doesn't go amiss to sometimes build up a bit of immunity. I think I watched a video once with that bodybuilder. His name's Arnold. I can't pronounce his surname, but the big bodybuilder guy. And he basically said, I'd go to the gym, I wouldn't wash my hands, and I would train, and I'd just eat some food. And he said, people say, weren't your hands a bit grimy? And they were like, and this was before COVID, to be fair, but he was like, no, because I want to build up that immunity, because I don't want to be ill for that competition next week. So I'm not saying go out there and just get your hands dirty and start eating stuff. What I'm saying is when it comes to carrots, beetroots, things that come out from the ground, give it a little bit of a wash, a little bit of a scrub with white wine vinegar, but then you don't need to be pedantic about it. Get it in the juicer. The juicer separates some of the bad stuff anyway. Things like the little seeds. You say, aren't they toxic? Don't need to take them out. Don't need to decore them. If you're blending them, yes, the juicer will separate them anyway. But you probably need to have about 20 apples or something like that, 15 apples, whole apples, to actually get some sort of poisoning from the stuff that's in the seeds. So when we're chucking in a couple of apples, just so you can imagine, not going to do any harm. The juicer separates it. You'll see the seeds come out in the pulp container at the back anyway. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a juice that's got what I've got here, maybe 10 different things going in. So I'm going to put 1 apple in to start with. What else can I add in? Well, maybe a bit of lemon again. This time, I'm just going to put a slice of lemon in with the skin on, with the rind on. But like I said, if you don't want that zesty taste, but you still want the benefit, keep the white bit on where the pith is. That's where the nutrition really is. A little bit of ginger, won't go amiss, but I'll just put a little slice in there. And that's the thing. People say, well, what counts as a portion? This is the whole idea what I talked about at the start, at the beginning of the talk, which was the greatest magic trick in the world. According to the government, according to doctors, you put all this good stuff in: apple, ginger, lemon, a bit of celery, a bit of red bell pepper, not the whole lot, just a slice of it. When things are juiced, first of all, they're absorbed so much quicker by the body, you don't need as much of it, because if you ate 5 apples, the body would have to process that. If you juiced 5 apples, it's absorbed so much quicker. But you don't need 5 apples to get 1 portion of apple. So that's why when I juice an apple, that's 1 portion of apple. Big slice of red bell pepper, that's your portion of red bell pepper. Slice of ginger, you don't need that whole amount. You just need a little slice to get the benefit. Like I said, less is more. But the greatest magic trick in the world, which is not my idea again, it's a video I watched, I think with Jason Van himself actually. For some reason, the government, this is why you don't want to listen to them when it comes to things like this, listen to people who know what they're talking about and studied the topic, is that they say that no matter how many portions you put it into a glass. And just, by the way, just because something's in a glass doesn't mean it's not a meal. People think, oh, it must be a drink. It's a meal in a glass. When made properly, because you've got so many different colours and all the pigmentations of the different colours and things like that going in, it actually is a meal within itself. You want to top that up with a bit of avocado, because the one thing on earth, I don't think I've got any here actually. I might have some in the bag down. I do actually. I do. I've come prepared. I don't know if it's on its way out. When you cut an avocado open, as long as it's not completely black, it's a little bit brown, it's fine to use. I might just crack that open in a minute. When you open it, by the way, get a knife, be careful, put the knife into the seed, twist it, that gets rid of the seed. I think it's a Jamie Oliver trick. It's a good thing to do, to be fair, if you are trying to eat healthier, instead of having something like toast or whatever, get a bit of avocado, put a bit of black pepper on it, a bit of lemon juice, scoop it out. It's got its own bowl. It's like a portable food, essentially. Avocado, you're going to mix that in with your smoothie, then you're getting your macronutrients. The one thing on earth that contains everything you need is avocado. You can't get enough of it. People say, well, I remember seeing that picture where there was a Mars bar and an avocado, and it said the same amount of calories. But I'm quite sure, talking to you as an audience, you don't have to be, studied a degree or be very clever to realize what's better for you, a Mars bar or an avocado. Yes, maybe the same amount of calories, but with the Mars bar, nothing good in it at all, really, unless you need a boost of sugar because you've got low sugar levels. Again, when it comes to conditioning, I think like Mars bar sponsored the England football team, and it was something like, work hard, play hard, or something like, and it was like, have the Mars bar. Yeah, these are elite athletes, they won't be having the Mars bar, they'll just endorse it. But the truth of the matter is, have a break, have a Kit Kat. We're conditioned to have these foods, yet Mother Nature knows best. And you give Mother Nature a chance, you might just change the problems you have right now in your life when it comes to health. And not just you, it might be a friend, it might be a family member. Because I can assure you right now, there's someone out there on their hospital bed. I put it in one of my newsletters, which I see up on the wall right now. It says, a healthy person has 1,000, 1,000,000 wishes. But a person who's unwell, who's ill, who has cancer, just has one wish. And that's why I'm showing you this today. That's the foundation of all of this, because if I can just help you adopt a bit of a new lifestyle, incorporate it, then you can avoid those things down the line. You can play with those grandkids. You can be there for that person. You can perform better, get that promotion in your job. You can go to the next level if you're an athlete and you want to push on to the next level. You're in business and you want to make more sales. Because like I said, feel better, do better. So apple going in, bit of lemon, bit of ginger, bit of red bell pepper. This is ad hoc. I'm making this just right now, literally. Bit of red bell pepper going in, bit of celery. I'm going to put in a couple of sticks. That's going to give it, make it substantial. You want it to be really 300 to 500 milliliters to make it a meal replacement. So we've got that going in. A little bit of beetroot. This is where small table is not ideal, but it does the job. So a little bit of beetroot. I'm going to try and not kill myself in the process. The amount of times I've cut beetroot and then thought I've cut myself, but it's not, it's just the beetroot itself. Why is it red? It's loaded in nitrates that opens up the blood vessels. It vasodilates them, which helps to flush through toxins and also helps, it's like an actual pre-workout. If you're going for a run, going for a walk, going to the gym, it's going to help open up, get oxygen to the blood, keep things flowing. You have that every day. It's powerful stuff. This is not my opinion. This is not what someone else said. This is now been well documented. They did a study with swimmers, synchronized swimmers, took two sets of people, two groups of swimmers. One group had a beetroot shot, one group didn't. The group that had the beetroot shot went underwater. They both went underwater. The group with the beetroot shot stayed underwater for double the time compared to the group that didn't have the beetroot. So it shows you how much it gets oxygen flowing to the blood, the muscles, things like that. So we've got red bell pepper, the red going in, the purple going in, the celery. We're now on to 5 portions, if not 6. I'm going to put a bit of orange in. This is not like the stuff you get in those machines where you go on holiday and basically it's pressing literally, and I'm going to use the other one just to demo that in a second. I'm cutting off a little bit of the pith because it's going to be too bitter. You might have had orange peels when you were younger, but the truth of the matter is the actual skin itself can't be digested by the human body, and that's why we have to take off at least that outside layer. But we want to keep the pith on because that's where the goodness is, as I said. Orange going in, most people get it wrong. They take an orange, and by the way, just to show you whilst I've seen it, you see how that little ginger shot is now separated. The reason for that is because it was made in a fast juicer, not a cold press juicer. That wouldn't happen in a cold press juicer. Most people have an orange like that, go on holiday, go to one of these machines, and it squeezes out this part, the sugary liquid part. You don't get any of the good stuff, you just get this part. Now, that's only going to be about 5-10% of what you need, the nutritional value. But when you juice it like this, even half an orange, again, one of your portions. Don't listen to the government. We've now got 7 portions going into this one juice alone. What else could I add in? That's probably about it. I've got a little bit of pomegranate. Let me cut that open. Pomegranate is kind of like an alternative to beetroot if you don't like the earthiness. But I say to people, look, you might tell me you hate beetroot. You might tell me you have it in a salad, things like that. But the truth of the matter is, you want to be getting it in liquid form because it's absorbed that much better. So I'm going to put a little bit of pomegranate seeds. In an ideal world, have pomegranate and beetroot. But if you really, really can't stand beetroot, likewise, if you've got an allergy to celery, because it is one of the common allergens, have more cucumber. There's no excuse not to be getting some of this stuff in every single day. Like something I've learned through life is there's always another way. There's always a better way. There's always a more simpler way. And that's what it was for me with juicing. I still don't eat things like, kale, spinach out of choice. I might have a little bit on a pizza, but it doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut what you need every single day. I might have beetroot in a salad, beetroot and feta. I've had more salads these days, but my number one go-to is having a juice every day. So we've got about 8 different portions going on in there. So what we're going to do is going to turn that on. I'm just going to give this a quick rinse. So like I said, if I was sieving this ordinarily, I'd be doing that because I'm just making a juice. But what I'm going to do is let this work. And then what I can do is I can walk away. I can do a bit of work. I can read something. I can make something else, prepare something else. The juicer does the work for me. I'll leave the cap off, so otherwise it'll build up in the reservoir. As we see, the red's coming through. We've got the celery going through, the orange, the lemon, the ginger. You've got 8 different portions going on in there. And then what we're going to do is top that up to 11. We're going to add a little bit of avocado, as long as it's still standing, into the blender. We're going to add a little bit of banana, and we're going to add a little bit of berries as well. Berries, rich in antioxidants, whether that's blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, cranberries, loaded in antioxidants. Why is that important? A lot of free radicals in the body from pollution, from bad diet, go around in the body, start to destroy our cells, denature them, create things like cancer long term. One of my this kind of links to something I was going to say earlier on. So recently, I was devastated at the time, but now I talk about it because it's a good point. One of my cats died actually that we had for many, many years. It must have been about 10 plus years we had her, 12 years. And I remember once coming across an anecdotal story, and it was basically saying, well, if you look at some of the animals in the wild and you look at how long they live and how well they live, they don't have things like cancer. They've taken animals from the wild, tested them. They don't have anything like cancer, disease like we have in society. Like I said, 85% of disease is lifestyle. And in the wild, they only eat plant-based food. I once heard a story, you don't see a gorilla with a barbecue. We're the only species on Earth that cook our food and have food that is not raw. Most people go every day, every month without some raw stuff going in. That's what's good about juicing. But the whole story was, someone said to me, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. So animals in the wild don't eat cooked food, so they don't get the cancers. Okay. And then someone said, well, what about cats and dogs are animals and they get cancer? And I was like, well, yeah, but we feed them. We feed them the food that we give them, or the processed factory stuff as well. And actually it turned out that my cat had cancer. And I'm telling you that because whether it's a cat, whether it's us as a human, we're all susceptible to things like cancer. No one's immune from it. but we can do something about it. And it starts today. New year, new you. January 2024 is the year where you start doing something different. Like I said, the idea of evolution, the idea of New Year's resolutions is to go every single year and do something different, to do better. It's not to go downhill, it's to go uphill. We've got our juice almost made. And like, again, I could have added stuff like carrot. I could have added things like a bit of parsnip, so many things, but I tend to stick to the staples because they're the most powerful things. There is a reason why you've heard of pomegranate, beetroot, orange, watermelon, celery, cucumber. They're the most common, but they're also the most beneficial. You can add in some turmeric. You can add in some spirulina, but you don't have to do all that if you get your staple stuff every single day. So juice is more or less made. Just going to have to wrap that around. The beauty of it, it does come with like a little plunger, to be fair, which helps feed things through, but it kind of does the work for you and it'll just juice it itself. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to get about a quarter banana. If you're still with me, by the way, still listening, thank you for listening, because, you know, some people, you know, they switch off because they're like, oh, it's too much for me. It's, you know, I've listened to enough now, and they go about their life, they don't think about it. But if you're still listening, if you're not, or you're someone who, you know, you listen to this thinking, I know a friend who could really benefit from this, then let me know and I'll send them the recording of this talk, because I don't believe that there's not at least, you know, more than one thing that someone could take from this talk, honestly, because most of what I'm sharing with you is not stuff that I made up. I'm standing on the shoulders of people who have stood before me, and I'm taking what they've told me, taking the best parts and imparting that to you. So a bit of banana going into our blender. With the berries, because they are already frozen, I won't need to add any ice into it. But if I was adding the banana avocado just by itself, then I might add a bit of ice just to make it a bit colder, because everything tastes better when it's colder. That's why you'll see on bottles and stuff, it'll say, you know, drink chilled, shake well, drink chilled. So that's going in. Avocado, I'm just going to quickly see what this avocado is looking like whilst this juice finishes off. So just for demonstrational purposes, I've got a bit of avocado going into the blender there. Oh, shit. Do you mind if you get a bit of tissue for that? A little bit of technical error. Do you want to quickly just put a tissue there and just leave it to set? Doesn't have to be perfect. See, when I first did this talk, I did it at home, but then my mum didn't like me for doing it. So I said, okay, I'll do it in the juice factory this time. It's built for it. So a bit of a mess. And that's one of the reasons, to be fair, I say to people, get our juices, because we take the hassle out for you. We've got proper machines over here and stuff that help us do that. If you don't want the hassle in your kitchen, you know, novelty wears off eventually, and then you'll find, actually, I want the stuff, but I don't want to have to make it. But to give you a little demonstration, so 3 things in there. Little bit of juice mixed in. What I'm going to do is put the juicer down. So we've got about 5-6 minutes left. Let's give this a little whiz. The key when it comes to blending is don't do it for too long. You see people putting this stuff on, blending it for like 2 minutes long, and then basically they've destroyed a lot of the nutrition. You've just done all of that hard work, putting in all the good stuff in the cold press juicer. Cold press, because there's no heat generated. You're keeping all the aliveness to it. And then people go and get rid of all of that by blending it for like 3 minutes. So what we want to do, and hopefully this reaches just about, is blend it for about maybe 20-30 seconds, just like this. Now, it might not be fully blended, but if this was your breakfast or you were doing a juice plan of some sort, I can assure you, that's why I say to people, get one of our daily juice juices, get a pack of them, and then get your blender, because most people have a blender, like you'd have a toaster or a kettle, and then mix in the banana, avocado, the berries, and then you're good to go. It's a meal replacement. But if this is your breakfast or lunch or dinner, it's nice to have a bit of a chew. Two reasons. One, because it sends signals down to your stomach, which prepares your stomach that it knows it's going to be receiving food, which stops you getting bloated too prematurely. Secondly, it's just nice to have a bit of a chew when you're having something. It might be Jamie there, but if you just tell him. We've basically got a big batch of orders of juice to get out. So after this talk, we're getting straight into the making, even on a Saturday. But like I said, if you do want a sample pack, get in touch with us. It's nice to have a bit of a chew if it's your breakfast. So going in on an empty stomach, I'm just going to give this a little bit of a taste. I'm going to put this into a little shot bottle because I haven't got a little glass. A little bit of spillage there, but it doesn't matter. Okay, cool. I'm going to give that a quick taste on your behalf. Now, without exaggeration, that's all natural. That is phenomenal. That's got a creamy texture. It's got the lemon, the orange in there. You can taste the banana, the avocado, a bit of the pomegranate, a bit of celery, hint of ginger. I could have added more, but that is actually one of the best tasting ones I've ever tried. I'm going to give that to give that to Lucy, Jamie in a bit to try as well. But like I said, a lot of mess, and that's why we take that out the equation for you if you want to get some juices like we have. I don't know if we've got some to show. Is there any juices in there, Jamie, that we could quickly demonstrate? Just to show you how they come with the ones that we do. I need a little bit of tissue, actually. You can pass me that tissue. Oh, perfect. So like I said, we freeze our juices. Perfect, thank you. We freeze our juices just like this because that locks in the nutrition. We cold press them and then they're delivered to your door in a courier box, or if it's ourselves delivering it, we put it in a special box. You put it in your freezer, put it in the fridge the night before, good to go. You have one of these every single day: ginger, beetroot, wheatgrass, spirulina, turmeric, and then one of these every day. You will not look back. Before I wrap up, I just want to say thank you. I am going to open the floor to questions in a sec. I know we're almost at 11 o'clock, but I just want to give you a little story just to finish off with. So I once came across a story, and it was basically this guy who was basically a homeless person. And he basically was going through some rubbish, and people were walking by and they were saying things like, well, what are you looking for in there? And he said, oh, I'm looking for, like, you know, some food basically. And they were like, oh, okay, fair enough. But then they watched him and he kept digging and digging and digging. And I think he found like an apple or something. And he's got rid of all, like, there's some fast food, some nice chicken that's actually still intact. And they said, wait, I thought you were looking for some food. Like, don't you want to have that chicken as well? Like, why are you digging all the way to the bottom? You found an apple. Like, surely you'd want the chicken and all that stuff as well. And he said, well, yeah, I could have the chicken, but you look at me and you think, well, surely you just get what you can get your hands on because there's food there. And you say, I'm homeless. And he said, and I'm trying to figure things out at the moment because it's been a tough time and I've lost all my family and all of that. And he said, but there was one thing that I think it was his parents or someone taught me at a young age. And he said, you look at me and think I have nowhere to live. And he said, but I realized something from a very young age. And he said, if you don't look after your body, then you have nowhere to live. I just thought that was pretty cool because he was having that apple, digging it out. I think it's a true story. So I'm saying that to you. Look after your body because it's the only place you have to live at the end of the day. And like I said, someone out there right now is on their hospital bed. They've got cancer, just been told the news by a doctor that they've got cancer, they've got this condition, got this disease. And you're in a position now to not only help yourself, but help others as well. So I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to open the floor. If you don't want to come on camera, you don't want to ask it now, there's nothing in the chat. I'm happy to give you a phone call, send you a message. I'm going to come around now, but I want to thank you for listening. It's been a very quick demonstration. I've got so much more content on my Instagram, TikTok, things like that, YouTube. I'm going to flip it around now and answer any questions that you might have. Let me come around. Right, let's flip this round. So if you do want to come on camera, unmute yourself, or you just want to say anything, then feel free to do it now. I'm here to answer any questions for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Can I kick us off, Luke?
I'll just think. Okay, perfect. You should be able to hear me now. I'm on my MacBook. Yeah, can you hear me all good?
We can hear you. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, so yeah. Once again, I have to say thank you for watching. Any questions from the talk or anything you had in general wanted to say just to finish off before we leave for the day and you enjoy the rest of your Saturday?
I don't mind kicking us off if that's all right, Luke.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Brilliant. Luke, thank you very much, firstly, for giving up your time. I know we've given up our time to tune in and listen to you, but you've taught us a lot this morning. I always say every day is a school day and we learn something new. And as always, I've learned something new this morning. So I've got a handful of questions, but I'm going to go ahead and just probably ask one or two. I met you back, and I think it was about 2016. I think you were still in secondary school at the time. You come along with your dad to one of my master classes, and since then you've gone on, and I've been following you since on your various channels. And firstly, congratulations on a fantastic job that you're doing to where you are today, getting your business up and running. I got one of your juice packs. So here goes the question. I got one of your juice packs that you kindly delivered to me, and I've only two juices in so far. I went for the vibrant blue ginger one first because it just stood out. It was like, wow, I've got to give this a whirl. And I will say, and I know it was in your video at the beginning. Lots of people have said it's fantastic, and it was mind-blowing, great. The balance was just perfect. I gave it to Jo, my wife, and she was like, brilliant, fantastic. And then this morning I went for the wheatgrass one. Also liked it, but the ginger one still tops it for me. I suppose my question is for you. They were sample packs. Is that sample pack that I had today, is that the kind of shot size that you would have on a daily basis? And would you recommend that we mix them up and have different ones, or stick to just maybe just the ginger shot one? Or would you recommend we have different ones each day of the week, or along those lines?
Yes, it's a great question. And first of all, I just have to say, for those of you who, I know David gave a bit of context there, but the reason why I'm standing talking to you the way I'm talking to you right now is because I took a chance on David, on myself, to come to a talk from him, and I did a subsequent talk with James Whale as well, who's a radio presenter, been on the BBC, things like that. And basically, it was a real eye-opener for me, and it gave me the confidence I needed at a time where I wasn't the most popular person in school. I missed assemblies because I just dreaded it so much. I'd hide in the toilet. And David gave me the confidence to get up there and share my message. And I'm a big believer in, whether it's talking to one person, 100 people, 1,000 people, whoever you're talking to, give it your all, because you never know how much it might change the world for them. So I have to thank you, David, just publicly to say that, because you continually, I remind myself, I never forget my roots. And for as long as I live, I'll always look back to those early days where you helped me. So yeah, two great questions. When it comes to the shots, every sachet that we put them in, which we might be looking at some different ones, because for the local ones, it's been fine. But for some of the courier-based ones, they do tend to leak a little bit. And that's why when you receive them in an order, they come in a proper substantial bottle, still frozen, but they come in a bottle where it's not going to leak and things like that. The actual sachet itself is 60 millilitres, the same as the little bottle, which is a shot size. You want to be getting a little shot size every day, 60 mil. And then the second question I say to people, I've got people who, and I've not really mentioned this in the talk, there's so much to mention, but I've got a guy called Andrew who actually goes to my dad's gym, and he was on blood pressure medication. He doesn't really like taking, he's a bit afraid of doctors, things like that, doesn't want to take medication, but he had high blood pressure. He came to me and said, have you got anything that could help? I said, try these beetroot shots, try this juice, it's got a bit of pomegranate in it. He had it every day for 3 months. He exercised most days in the gym. And I can't remember what it was, something over something. It was high. And then now he's in a position where he doesn't take medication. He went back to the doctor and he said, whatever you've done, you don't need to take the medication anymore. So he's off all the blood pressure medication. So for people like that, I would say just have the beetroot shots or the beetroot-based juices we do. For people who always get ill, I would say have the ginger stuff. If you ache, you've got arthritis, if you've got bad skin, eczema, things like that, ginger and turmeric all the way. It's massively anti-inflammatory. Most disease is caused by inflammation anyway. If you lack energy, I would say mainly get the wheatgrass. If you're someone who's not got a condition or a certain ailment, I would say go for it all, because the whole idea of prevention is better than cure. Every day, just getting something different into your system. One day the ginger, next day the beetroot. And the key with that as well is its variety, because they say variety is the spice of life. So to have something different to look forward to every single day doesn't go amiss. So I would say if there was number one shot, have a ginger every single day. If you can take the hotness of the spirulina ginger, it's going to give you even more of a boost. But yeah, that's the answer in a nutshell, essentially.
Brilliant. I'm going to go for the ginger one. And one last question. I'm sorry if I'm going to steal the show here. And a bit of a plug as well, I suppose, for you at the same time. What does this cost? So if I was going to have a single shot per day, what would be the kind of the average cost on a monthly basis? And as you said earlier, this is not just try it, this is kind of get into it and do it. So what would that cost for someone like myself who would like a ginger shot every day of the week, maybe off at the weekend, have a bit of rest from it, but Monday to Friday, what would I be looking at as a cost?
So probably one of the biggest questions I get asked from people, apart from things, oh, do you have a website, or do you have this, do you have Instagram, things like that, is they say to me, oh, do you do one-off shots like in the shops? And I was like, I could, but I don't, because if you have a one-off shot and then come to me a couple of days later and say, oh, I had that shot, but I'm still low energy, I'm like, well, it's because you have to have it every day for at least a month. A doctor would say, have that medication, and then we'll review it in 3 months' time. It's a bit like that. So I say to people, you can get a one-off box, or you basically can subscribe for 4 months and really get the benefit. You can get a mixture, or you can get one type of shot. And I say to people, look, if you get a one-off box, it works out about £2.63 a shot. And bear in mind, if you go to places like Pret-a-Manger, places in London, they'll charge you like maybe £4 or £5 for a shot, £3.50 for something that's nowhere near as good as what we do. Yet they charge you more, and people will have it as a one-off. They'll expect the world, and then they'll have that ginger shot, say that was really hot, never have it again, and say, oh, it didn't really impact my life. So a one-off box is essentially £79. It's all frozen, freshly made, cold pressed. But most people go onto a subscription. They get a mixture of the flavors. It's £69, which is about £2.30 a shot. So much cheaper than the stuff you get in the shops in places like London when you're on the go. And if you've got a batch, you can take a batch with you. If you're on the move, just keep them cold. That's fine. This time of year is fine. Take it with you. It's nice and easy to take around with you. So yeah, that's what it is in terms of cost and the structure. I really recommend a subscription, because then you don't have to it takes out the hassle of having to say, oh, when I get my next juices and stuff, and then you have one every single day without fail.
Brilliant. Let me finish off the samples, and I'll let you know which ones are top of the list, and be in touch.
Perfect. And I'm glad you like them. Thanks, David. And if Lisa, or anyone else had any questions, I'm here for you. If not, I don't know if there was anything in the chat. I'll just quickly check that. But yeah, the juicer I use just now is called the Huron 200. I think I can actually add into the chat here. So I'll put that in there. But the one I'm going to be re-promoting is called the Nama J2 juicer. It's also, we're going to be using basically a commercial version of that for our own juices to make, a big amount of these, but still keeping the quality. But yeah, if you had any other questions, one good piece of equipment is worth getting is something called the NutriBullet Balance. So basically, it's not just a standard NutriBullet. It's basically one that you can add basically the cup on top, and it measures out everything you add. So whether you add a bit of powder, a bit of yogurt, a bit of frozen berries, and it tells you exactly what's in on your phone, on a smartphone app, what is in that in terms of sugar, calories, fats, proteins, things like that. So that's something worth investing in. And then I would say leave the juicing to us. If you are within the UK, let us give you your juices and shots. And then, like I said, you probably already have a blender. Mix it in with some of the macro stuff like the avocado, banana, the powders, the yogurts, things like that, the nuts and the seeds. So yeah, I see you said you got a NutriBullet, so that's great to hear. And we've got people joining here actually from places around the world like Bulgaria as well. So my vision is to really expand this, impact more people. And what I'm going to do with all this content is basically put out the best stuff from today's talk and basically share with people and entice them. We're going to basically alternate between in-person events and virtual events as well. So if you have any friends, families, associates, colleagues that could benefit from this, obviously share it with them, point them my way. Juice Guy UK on Instagram as well. But yeah, if there was no more questions, then I would say go and enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and hopefully now you've got a bit of a spring in your step as well with all this juicy information. But yeah, thank you for listening.
Sorry, I just want to jump in there just to say thank you for the event this morning. It's been really great, and we're really enjoying your shots and looking forward to having more of them, to be honest. So, and at some point I'm going to get my boys onto them as well, because I think they're amazing. So
that's
thank
right,
you.
yeah. How old are your boys? Are they quite young, or are they sort of teenagers?
No, they're not actually. One's 23, so not that far off you. I've got another boy that's going to be 20, then my youngest one is 15. So I'm really kind of want to implement these good changes and of the shots.
I'm 24 now, but I started this when I was 17. But I'm a big believer in it. It's never too late, and it's also never too early. So whether you're young or old, you could benefit from this straight away. So yeah, but I have to thank you, because you've only just come across us in recent times, and already you've been great sending us photos and stuff that we've been able to post onto Instagram. So I have to thank you. And I love to see it when people, really see the benefits. They have this every day and they've had a change in lifestyle. So yeah, thank you.
That's an absolute pleasure. Thank you. I'm looking forward to continuing our juicing journey with you. Super. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I think if that's everything, yeah, thank you for listening.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you very much, Luke.
Enjoy your weekend and talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.